episode of Drifters, Toyohisa and his group of badasses meet up with Seimi, the leader of the Octobrist organization, who just so happens to be a drifter himself with a penchant for sorcery. As if that's not enough, it appears that Naoshi, the World War II fighter pilot, has become the god of the dog people. And this whole episode right here is essentially a big build-up to Toyohisa and their group creating a large number of firearms and trying to liberate the many races of this fantasy world so that they can destroy the Orte Empire as well as the Ends themselves. After last week's bloodbath of an episode, it was only natural that this week's episode was going to take a breather and give us a little bit of characterization, as well as getting to see some of the other drifters meeting the other ones as well. It's a veritable east versus west of an episode. Everybody's got important things going on, with Yoichi butting heads with his old master Yoshitsune, who apparently was one of his old leaders in the past and made him do some pretty fucked up shit, but Yoichi is trying to get away from that. You also have Nobunaga, who's completely obsessed over the prospect of having guns. When he sees Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids actually using these weapons and seeing what they're capable of, he wants nothing more than to create a massive army of gun-toting warriors to take down the Orte Empire. And it's really convenient that they both happen to have the resources to make that happen, with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid knowing how to use these weapons, and the dwarves who will be able to make them. The gunpowder is going to come from Nobunaga himself, who's been developing it as they've been in this fantasy world. It's super convenient, but honestly, it's pretty damned hype. And then, of course, you have Toyohisa himself, who let Joan of Arc go, because he just doesn't want to hurt women. He has his own principles and his own code to follow. He's a very chivalrous character, which is also why Nobunaga wants him to be the leader of this brand new organization, with Nobunaga sort of acting as his aide, working in the shadows. Like I said originally in some of my other reviews, I thought that maybe it was sort of like a father-son relationship, where Nobunaga is seeing Toyohisa as his son and sort of trying to rectify the relationship that they had in the past, but it might be a little different than that. As for the character of Seimi, he is a drifter who's been leading the Octobrist organization for quite some time. Not exactly a military badass by any stretch of the means, but apparently he was a very famous magician or sorcerer from his time period that even Nobunaga knows about. But this is another one of those historical events which frankly just sort of flies over my head. Speaking of which, even though we have Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, we also have that other old Roman dude who's completely demented in this episode, the character of Scipio has somehow become lost from the group, and he's trying to find his way back when he stumbles upon Naoshi Kano, who is the World War II fighter pilot who has become the god of this group of anthropomorphic animal people, which are all like wolves and dogs. It's very strange, but what I will say is that Naoshi just bleeds so much personality. Yes, his voice can be kind of grating, the fact that he basically sounds like he smokes like 40 cigars a day, but he's just really damned funny, especially when he actually meets Scipio, who he himself is a Roman, thus he's Italian, and he feels that because that's the case, he's a part of the Axis powers. He's still sort of in the mindset of being in World War II. And it's kind of messed up, and it's also kind of funny at the same time. Really, that's the best thing about this episode, is getting to see all of these cultures clashing with one another, and just seeing how they react to one another. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Drifters? This was essentially a setup episode of the series, which I honestly just don't have that much to talk about. Essentially, it's just the build-up to meeting the dwarves and saving all of them, with Nobunaga having this very big plan where they're going to liberate all of the various races around the fantasy world so that they can take down all of the evil that exists within. Really, though, the best thing about this episode, like I said, is getting to see the drifters interact with each other. They all have such extreme personalities, and they're all really cool and badass in their very own way. Of course, with the main three being Toyohisa, Nobunaga, and Yoichi, definitely getting the most screen time. I was especially happy to see the return of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. It's good to see some American representation in the show, and one that is actually kind of flattering. They just don't make the characters freaking morons. But again, that's one of the more fascinating elements of the show, again, is how these various cultures view each other and how they sort of stereotype each other, just getting to see it from various different angles. But yeah, like I said, this episode was a build-up to meeting the dwarves and getting some brand new guns. Just think about that. An army of elves and dwarves with guns. By the way, is it not stereotypical that the elves and the dwarves do not get along? What is this J.R.R. Tolkien shit? Call it an homage if you will, call it derivative at best. Still, this was an okay episode of Drifters, which was essentially just a build-up to the next episode, and getting to see all of these drifters and their various storylines, cultures, and pasts getting intertwined. I can't wait to see what the final product is going to be ultimately at the end of this season, as again, this is based on a manga series, which I have not looked at, so I'm just trying to digest the anime version. What I will say is this is still a pretty entertaining episode, and one that all Drifters fans should definitely check out, if at least once. So I'm going to give this episode right here a 3 out of 5. Just an okay average episode of the series, but definitely worth watching. So check it out, Drifters fans. If any of you did watch it, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below, and what you hope to see from the rest of the Drifters anime series. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.